Here's what we changed. We agreed that we would just work on getting the service laterals marked in work done on the right-of-way. Let me give you a story about this one as well. Picture that you've called in a job and your entire job is strictly within a right-of-way. You're in the street. You're not going outside of the edges of the right-of-way. You're not doing any work on privately owned land. When you get to that job, part of your responsibility for this project is you're going to tear up everything. You're going to remove the pavement. You're going to cut laterals. You're going to cut anything that's not marked because you have to remove it all. Well, if you get to that job and there's this, say, nice, beautiful green line down the middle of the street, you know that represents a sewer main. But if there are no laterals marked off that sewer main, but you see customers on either side of the street, and you know your job will be to remove earth and pavement around that main, you're going to hit the laterals. Here's what happens currently, or what has happened in the past. Excavators tell us that some of the facility operators, some of the cities and entities that run mains, will mark the laterals for them, even though they don't own the laterals in this case. They say their customers own the laterals. Excavators tell us in other situations, even the neighboring city might have a completely opposite policy, which is, I will not help you find the laterals because I don't own them. They are owned by my end customers. What a spot to be in if you can't proceed until all known lines in the area are marked, and you're told, I'm only going to mark the lines I own, not the ones I don't own. Quite an interesting dilemma. In fact, we were able at this dig law revision process to bring examples to the group from other states nearby where excavators were suing facility operators over this very same type of issue. Here's what would happen. They take the issue to court, and a judge, and judges usually do not understand the dig laws, they just act as reasonable people, would say, who put the green paint down? And the city would raise their hand, and the judge would say, who marked the laterals? And the city would say, no one. And the judge would ask, well, who's supposed to mark the laterals? Well, they don't belong to us. They belong to our end customers. But the end customers were not in the courtroom to give their side of it because they're not part of the call before you dig process. Beginning to see the dilemma here and the conflict. So judges would say, okay, let's move to the next step. Who broke the laterals attached to the main? Well, the excavator would raise their hand. The judges would ask, who made arrangements for those repairs to take place? Now the city would raise their hand, or the entity that owned that main. You made the repairs? Well, who billed the excavator for the cut? The city would raise their hand again. The judge was saying, you know what? You may call yourself not an owner of those laterals, but you're acting like owners when you bill for the downtime and when you arrange for the repairs, and the so-called owners are not a part of any part of this process. What a spot to be in. We did not want that conflict in Washington. So here's the compromise we went for. How do we help the facility owner that does not own the laterals? How do we help the excavator find those laterals? Judges were saying, who else is going to help anyone dig in that area if they're not a facility owner, they're just an excavator? Who's going to help them find the laterals if not the person who maintains and who controls and who repairs and who takes care of the main? That falls on the job of the cities and the entities that own those mains.